I'd like to thank Dr. Pritchard and the faculty here for inviting me here to speak after those four people. Thank you very much. Last spring saw the resignation of NAFME's executive director for making racially insensitive comments during a meeting of professional organizations. No one is feeling any joy or satisfaction from this incident, nor should they. NAFME leadership could have headed this off with strong action taken immediately upon learning of this incident, but they did not. Instead, NAFME's response to this situation was to hire a PR firm to manage the flow of information around this incident. My assumption is that this firm was paid by NAFME out of member dues. The parallels between this situation and the water crisis in my state, in Flint, Michigan, are striking. A chief executive displays stunningly poor judgment, and then instead of addressing the problems they have caused, a PR firm is hired to spin the coverage of the incident. In the aftermath of this incident, NAFME published a call for proposals to study important issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion in music education. As some of our colleagues, Dr. Joyce McCall from Indiana in particular, have pointed out, our outrage at the comments made by Mr. Butera means nothing if not accomplished by appropriate and corrective actions. The following are policy recommendations for our state music education associations and our collegiate music teacher preparation programs with respect to developing a more representative music education workforce, access to music teacher education, and future music education research directions. Some of these suggestions will take years to implement, but others could happen immediately if we have the courage of our convictions. Make sure that our music classes look like the population of students in the schools in which they exist. That may mean providing instruments for students who can't afford to rent them and subsidizing private lessons. Improve access for urban and rural students to the same number and quality of music offerings that their peers in more affluent schools have access to. Provide scholarships for summer study for underrepresented minority students like the McNair program that Darren mentioned. Free registration for MEA events for students from low SES schools, and work to identify and support minority students who are interested in becoming music teachers. MEAs should examine their lists of required solo and ensemble music, that's a topic for another time, to make sure that Black, Hispanic, Indigenous peoples, women, and LGBT composers are represented on these lists. Conference and festival coordinators should be encouraged to invite a diverse roster of guest conductors and clinicians to work with students at regional and all-state festivals. These persons are often important mentors and role models for our students, and we need to make sure that our students see persons who look like them on podiums and in classrooms at these events. It's also important for majority students to have the opportunity to work with a more diverse array of guest conductors and clinicians who often bring unique backgrounds and perspectives to their teaching. Establish recruitment programs to identify promising young minority music teachers and encourage these teachers to pursue leadership positions in their local, state, and national music education associations. Reduce or eliminate obstacles in our college and university music program audition and admissions procedures that make it more difficult for minority students to be accepted to these institutions to pursue music degrees. Reconceptualize both the P12 and collegiate music curricula to reflect the diversity of musics in students we should be serving and deliver this instruction in culturally relevant ways. Improve the search and hiring procedures so that P12 and collegiate music faculties are more representative of the richness and diversity present in our musical communities. NAFME is a 20th century organization that is finding itself ill-prepared to function in the 21st century. The association's nationalized approach to advocacy is unsuited and unprepared to do the state-level work required to respond to the changes in ESSA. And no serious steps have been taken to build capacity at the state level where this work needs to be done. It's time for our profession to take a proactive stand and use this situation to begin a necessary and long overdue conversation on issues that have festered in our profession for far too long. Our National Association and our schools and colleges must change our mindset and finally begin to consider the issues of race, diversity, equity, and inclusion as opportunities for growth and understanding instead of as problems to be solved, and begin to enter the current reality of music teaching and learning in our schools. Thank you.